Good morning. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the first speech of the day for the SEAI Energy Show for 2023. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Cormac McCarthy. He's going to talk to you about the EXEED program in a couple of minutes. And my name is Dennis Neary, and I'll be talking to you about the SSRH. So, I'll get started. So, I'm going to just break down first about the SSRH and what it actually is. So, the support scheme for renewable heat is a financial incentive to encourage the investment in biomass boilers and heat pumps and AD gas boilers. So, it's ideal for any business that is considering getting off fossil fuels. One of the big benefits of biomass fuel is it's sourced locally. If anyone is using wood chip, they could be sourcing it from 5 miles down the road. So anything happening in other parts of Europe aren't going to interfere with your suppliers. Switching to renewable heating delivers a reduction in energy costs and carbon emissions. Now, obviously, biomass is a renewable heat source, but it's currently the cheapest fuel on the market, including mains gas, depending on whether you go with chip or pellet. So we enhanced the scheme in 2023. We made a few big changes. I'll talk about them in 1 or 2 minutes, but first I'm just going to run down a breakdown of the SSRH from the biomass side. So, as I said, there's an investment aid side, up to 40% for air source heat pumps, ground heat pumps, water heat source heat pumps, and this includes heat recovery units, which wasn't part of the scheme last year. There's an operational side, which is a payment every quarter for 15 years. So you pay your investment, you install your boiler, you read your meter, 3 months later you read it again, you submit it to us, and we pay 5.66 cents for the first 300 megawatt hours of the year, and then the tariff changes over time. Smaller projects are better off than bigger projects. So, John again, for biomass heating and anaerobic digestion is also supported, and it's for gas boilers that are burning AD gas. So it has to be anaerobic digestion, it can't be normal gas, obviously. So, what's an eligible applicant? Any commercial, industrial, agricultural, public sector. We allow district heating as well. So, single domestic houses are not allowed, or domestic apartments. But if you have an apartment block and you install a biomass boiler in the basement or an AD boiler in the basement, you can charge your neighbours and we'll support the burning of the biomass and the AD gas. Emissions trading scheme members are allowed in now. This was something that wasn't included last year. This is one of the improvements we made on the scheme. So if you've got a large site and it's part of the ETS scheme, and you've got, say, 10 boilers spread throughout your site, and you want to change one of them to biomass, you can contact us. We'll talk you through what's required. But at the end of the day, if you have a large boiler, you can get 230 something thousand per year. So what's eligible heat? Space heating, water heating, process heating, and that includes heat recovery, as I said, which wasn't included last year. Produced from an eligible installation and metered at point of use. So in some situations, we can meter at point of production, depending on how far you are from your point of use and heat losses and stuff like that. We might do a heat loss calculation on your pipe work. So what is excluded? Open spaces, open swimming pools. We don't allow wood fuel drying because there's a risk then that wood fuel would be used for the generation of heat again, and so we'd be paying on the double. So wood fuel drying is not allowed. If you have drying sheds and you're using them to dry grain, for instance, You can get the SSRH for the period that you're drying grain. You contact us. You say, we're going to switch to drying wood now for the next 60 days. We'll ask you to read your meter that day, submit it to us. You can dry wood for the next 60 days. You can do whatever you want for the next 60 days. And when you're ready to go back on the scheme, we'll ask you to read your meter again, and you can go back on. We'll start notching up your units again. Electricity generation is also ineligible. So you can have CHP plant, combined heat and power. You'll generate electricity and heat. We'll pay for only the heat element. So we'll still pay for the heat element, but if you're using the power separately, you'll have to get support for that from another source. It could be a refit scheme or any other, you'd be selling it onto the market, I suppose. Any renewable heat mandated by regulation. So there are scenarios where you could get planning permission for a building, or not planning permission, it might be required by the building regulations that 15% of the energy in that building is from a renewable source. That 15% can be produced by a biomass boiler, but we won't pay you for the 15% that's mandated. So let's say 30% of the energy in that building is supplied by the biomass boiler. We'll pay you for the 15% that's not mandated. So we'll just take that off your annual cap. Not heat produced for the purpose of receiving the SSRH. It sounds like a no-brainer, but if you are sitting there trying to come up with a scheme or a business that you can burn fuel in order to get the SSRH, that's not allowed. So that's that. This is the payment table for the SSRH, biomass and biogas element. So this is the continuous payment over time. So when you apply for the SSRH, you'll submit a plan. This is what we intend to do. This is what we intend to purchase. And so you'll have an annual heat quantity that you expect to consume. So you'll send that to us, and let's say it's 1,000 megawatt hours per year. 2,000 megawatt hours per year would be a 150 bedroom hotel with a swimming pool and leisure center. So let's say you expect your business to consume 1,000 megawatt hours per year. We would set your annual heat cap. We'd compare it to industry KPIs because it's taxpayers' money. We would take the average consumption for that industry and say, okay, we're going to give you an annual heat cap of 1,000 megawatt hours per year. When you hit that, we stop paying you in order to protect the taxpayer. So you can burn 2,000 megawatt hours per year, but we're going to stop paying you at 1,000. Once you, first quarter, you might use 300 megawatt hours per year. For biomass, you get paid 5.66 cents. And for anaerobic digestion, 2.95 cents. And then the next 700 megawatt hours per year, you get 3.2 and then 2.9 again for the anaerobic digestion. So as you can see there, there's a cutoff point when you get to a certain size. This goes all the way up to like 230 something thousand a year for really big sites. So I'll pass on. So things that have changed in the scheme since 2023, I touched on a few of them earlier on. We've expanded into the ETS sector. So big sites. Biomass is subject to state aid. So you can have any size of a site now, whereas before we were limited. Expansion of ability for heat pumps. So previously, waste heat was not allowed. It was something to do with the definition of renewable heat in Europe. We've changed that rule. So if you have a large refrigeration site with a lot of waste heat, you can use a heat pump to turn that into useful heat, use it on site, and the SSRH will support a capital investment for your heat pump. And that could be up to 40%. So we've increased, that's on the other side of the change in this level of support. It used to be 30% across the board. Now it's 40% under certain circumstances, and that's connected to the seasonal coefficient of the heat pump, up to a maximum of 1 million euros. So if your heat pump cost 2.5 million euros, we'll give you 1 million in support. We'll also support energy efficiency measures at 30%. So that includes fabric on the building. So let's say the RDS here wanted to upgrade its fabric and wanted to spend £1 million on that, or well, let's say they wanted to spend 600,000 on the upgrade of the fabric and 300,000 on their heat pump. It's all included in the scheme. Waste heat applications I touched on, wider building envelope, yeah, and support for the, yeah, improved application process and turnaround time. We're trying to simplify the process as much as possible. So we're making it so there's just less duplication, less requirement for documents to be submitted. If it's not totally necessary, we've stopped asking for it. This is the SEOP table for the heat pumps. So if you've got an SEOP of 1.5 and it's a low temperature heat pump, we'll give you 10% support. So that could be up to £1 million. That could be a £10 million heat pump. But if you've got a SEOP of 3.5 and it's a medium temperature heat pump, we can give you 40%. And then as well as that, we can support the any developments, any upgrades you want to do on the building fabric to the tune of 30%. So, just a little roundup. I'm a bit of a head cold, that's why I'm struggling to breathe so much. Financial support to replace fossil fuels, that's what the scheme is. There's two sides to it. There's the 15 years of tariffs, or there's the capital investment support, up to 40%. So we've got 300 million to committed. We have that includes over the 15 years. So for instance, if we're putting out 20 million a year in tariffs, then that 300 million is all consumed. We haven't gotten anywhere near that yet. Who's it for? Businesses and public sector. So county councils, swimming pools, libraries, any business. I've got poultry sheds, I've got pigs, I've got hotels, lots of hotels. The more hotels, the better. And we covered the retrofit as well. So that's from the heat pump side of things, and decarbonisation of any industry. So just if your business consumes heat or consumes any fossil fuel, you're eligible for the SSRH. So, like I said, 40% up to 1 million for the grant side, and the tariff up to 3.5 million over 15 years. So, we have a video. Thomas, will you roll it there?
Hello there, how are you?
Hello, Paul, how are you?
Yeah, how many rooms do we have today? See you again, folks. Jimmy, how are you? And how are the girls doing? And folks, what about a drink to start off with? Radisson Blu Hotel has been open since September 2003. It's a 114-bedroom hotel, and it also has full conference and banqueting facilities and a leisure centre with a 17-metre swimming pool. It's well known that hotels are big users of energy, so the hotel was built with very well insulated materials to cut down on the amount of energy that's necessary to operate the building. That's the boiler room there, with the biomass boiler in there and a buffer tank. We've always had a focus on sustainability and reducing the carbon output of a hotel, which is a high energy user. So we're always looking for ways that we can be more environmentally friendly. The opportunity to change to biomass with the support of the SSRH gave us a way to recoup the investment that is needed to make that change in a very short space of time. I would say our cost of heating has reduced by approximately 50% based on 2019 figures. Based on 2022 figures, and we haven't been buying oil at all, I would say our saving has been approximately 70%. That's when the SSRH is taken into account. A huge saving for the hotel and a fantastic financial benefit for us. I would recommend any hotel to look at the SSRH scheme. Certainly the amount of effort and investment that is required is worthwhile. The benefits kick into your bottom line almost instantly, and hotels traditionally are big energy users, and to be able to reduce this energy cost is vital for us in staying competitive.
Okay, and that's a summary of the SSRH scheme. We'll take questions at the end if we have time, and I'll let Cormac have a go now. Okay?
Thanks, Dennis. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming along this morning. My name is Cormac McCarthy, and I'd like to give you a high-level overview of the EXEED scheme and some of the more recent changes to the scheme. Okay, so I won't go into too much detail, just touch on it from a high level. What I look at is what is EXEED, who is it for, what makes EXEED different from a standard energy audit. We'll talk about the grant support available and the recent changes as of March this year. And we can have a look at a couple of case studies, or I can take any questions afterwards. We'll hang around for 15 or 20 minutes if anyone has any queries. Okay, so what is EXEED? EXEED stands for Excellence in Energy Efficient Design. So it's a certification program with a significant grant element to it, and it helps businesses achieve optimum energy performance by applying a standardized approach to project design. Okay, so it's ideal for brand new buildings, retrofitting of buildings, or manufacturing processes, so process or value streams as well. What makes EXEED different from a standard or traditional approach? So a traditional approach to energy efficiency would tend to play it safe. You might identify individual opportunities using an energy audit. You'd maybe do things piece by piece, take the easy options first. You'd be designing for operation and maybe measuring energy savings once a year. EXEED is different from all that because it challenges the design norms and the status quo. So there is people there to ask those difficult questions of the design teams. The EXEED approach, instead of just doing a standard energy audit, will do an energy balance of all the significant energy users on your site or within your asset. We'll challenge and analyze those energy users and optimize design as a result of that challenge and analyze. So it drives out the need for energy in the first place. And if you look at that, what we call that onion diagram there on the right-hand side, EXEED queries, why do we need this energy service? Do we need it? And is there a different way to get it? Instead of the typical energy audit would maybe go directly to equipment and say, okay, can we get a more efficient piece of equipment? EXEED will actually challenge the need for that energy source in the first place. And as I said, it's designed for energy performance and designed for efficiency within operations, and it's continuous measurement of energy savings as well. As regard grant support, this year we have 7 million euros available in grant support. Okay, you can get up to 3 million euros per project. Now that's a significant increase from previously. It was 1 million. So this is to encourage large energy using companies to invest more and to take that extra step with larger projects and can avail of higher grant support. So there's 3 million euros per project available. Okay, so it's ideal, as I mentioned, for large industrial developments, large retrofit projects, or any new builds that are going over and above current building regulations. Okay, we're open for applications until the end of December this year. And once you've applied, you have until October 2024 to complete the works. So you have, it's almost 2 years, or you've well over a year and a half to complete those works that you'll be looking at now. So EXEED comes in 2 stages. The first stage is pre-investment costs. So this is essentially generating a number of studies. These are conducted by an energy efficient design expert, and we can support you if you're a large organization up to 50% of the costs of doing those studies, any additional benchmarking studies, energy modeling, and so on. There's a full list on our grant guidelines. Okay, so that's a good incentive to get these studies done. And from those stage 1 studies, you can then progress opportunities towards a capital investment stage. So we can support capital costs for equipment, and that includes heat pumps, air handling units, variable speed drives, more efficient machinery. We can also cover the commissioning and installation costs and any additional investment in professional services that might be needed, measurement and verification expertise or additional ED expert works. And for a large organisation, you can receive up to 30% grant for those capital costs. So the grant scheme changes, as I alluded to there, there's 3 major changes this year, and that's what I'd like to kind of focus on. The maximum grant amount has increased from 1 million to 3 million per project. So that's a significant increase, and that's going to be of interest to any large energy using companies that are out here today. Also, the value for money assessment that was previously in place has been replaced, and it's a much more simplified value for money check now. So it's easy for you to work out your potential grant amount. So for grant applications of between 50,000 and 500,000, the grant will be a maximum value of 1,000 euros per tonne of CO2. So to put that into simple English, the more tons of CO2 you can save, the higher your grant amount will be. Okay, and it will be based at 1,000 euros per tonne of CO2 up to 500,000 euros grant request. If it's over 500,000 euros grant request, there will be a cap of 850 euros per tonne of CO2. Now, that's a change from what we were using last year, which was the net present value of carbon. I'm not even going to go into that now. I'm glad it's been changed, and I'm sure you are as well. But this is the current value for money check that we'll be using. And finally, we're using an electricity emissions factor of 200 grams per kilowatt hour. So that's ideally designed to incentivize people towards heat electrification projects. Okay, so we want people to move away from fossil fuels and towards electrifying their heat. So they're the 3 main changes this year, and they're in operation as of this month. So I'm happy to take any queries afterwards. If you want to come up, and I'll hang around here, we can talk about it. We have a number of case studies on the website. I'm not going to go through any of them now in any detail, but please feel free to have a look at our website on EXEED, and we have a number of different industrial sectors that we're working with. We're working with large pharma companies, food and dairy, electronics, large hospitality industries. So there's a really wide variety of sectors involved with EXEED, and we'd like to see more of these large energy users coming to chat with us. So I said, look, these are up on our website. You're welcome to have a look at them and find out more at EXEED at SEAI.ie. Just drop us an email, or you can look up our webpage, the EXEED Grant Scheme and EXEED Certified Programme. Okay, so thank you very much for your time this morning. I've kept it brief, but as I said, I'm willing to answer any questions in detail afterwards here. Okay, so thank you.